damage in her kit, as well as a self-healing stun and heal. So if you kill one hunter, you're going to have to commit a lot of resources with all that peel that Cold Llamas is bringing. And then you still have another hunter that's going to be swinging away at you. Belt Slap has decent dive in the Guan Yu, though.
I agree. I'm a bit worried, though, for Cold Llamas. It feels like, to me, with that draft, what they've done is tried to set themselves up for a nigh unbeatable late game, right? I mean, their ability to output damage and stay sustained and control as well is going to be really, really strong for Cold Llamas if they can make it to that point. But Belt Slap has this on her. They've got this Camazot's jungle for Johnny. I mean, Julio's on the Guan Yu can rotate too. It's Trickstake takes a ton of early poke. Looks like that was the Trickster Spirit from Ice as well to try and catch up with him, but it didn't quite warm. But Trickstank and Arkle remaining patient. They're not going to let this go unpunished, this early start from Cold Llamas. Streak Up gets plucked a bit late on the beads there as well, which means now he's got nothing for the knock-up. A perfect impale. Arkle and Trickstank punish this early start from Cold Llamas.
That's exactly what you have.
Get enough accomplished on the right-hand side to make up for all this pressure that Streak Up's losing over in left. He is still getting a fairly good amount of solo farm, but he's still in trouble. He gets plugged back in, and right there to follow up is Arkle. Has the pillar there, does absorb the impale, but it does not save Streak Up's life. He's now down 0-2, and this is about the baddest start for Cold Llamas. There's not that bad of a matchup when the Dodgy comes in for the Trickster Spirit. He's got the impale to create more space, and he has a Desert Fury for CC immunity, and maybe they even have a kill on the Maniac as the gank happens on the right-hand side. Julio is the one that gets the kill credit, and Myth, this is exactly what I was worried about. There is no point on the map where this head. It's all about sustaining in lane and then getting items online faster than your opponent can. Without that blue buff, that task gets harder, as Maniac does still have the ultimate available, but look how low he is, and in comes Johnny to look for another cleanup kill. That's 2 deaths in a row now for Maniac and solo, and a bad situation keeps getting worse.
I mean, that was a clean jump over
the lane, but just they didn't have eyes on Johnny, and he wasn't ready for that second gank to come back through, so he ends up getting punished. Johnny and Julio are aggressive. Trickstank might be under siege too, but this is that blue buff we were talking about that they were not going to get for free. How about not get at all? Ice Baby's low in left. They forced out the 2 in right, so the fight more about Arkle, who still has the chain on him, but does get pulled, but it looks like he wasn't worried about it at all. Go ahead and pull me, and I'll just come to you. Now Ice Baby has to run through the jungle the wrong direction. Arkle catches up and gets another easy kill, and that's who we were hoping would relieve the pressure, but instead ends up getting picked, so Maniac has to drop the ultimate early and right to prevent the tower dive from coming through, and he does slow down this aggression, so maybe they finally get some breathing.
maybe just a little bit, but now that the lead is 2,000, 8 minutes in the control is the middle, but you don't expect that. Merlin's going to transition to late so well. Johnny getting a little bit aggressed on here. Half health, burning fast.
Still has Bat of the Hell, though. That is his escape tool if he were to need it, and he does take it, makes it up just barely, and low HP, but Genetics and Ice want to keep up the chase. Finally, Cold Llamas get one on the board as Johnny gets a bit too aggressive, but Genetics de-transforms at the end of that Draconic Corruption in enemy territory, but finds a good lead and a good hammer to shut down the aggression, but I don't think Trickstank's done with the chase. The Fluff brings Genetics back in, and now he's pinned against the wall, so they do lose Johnny. At least they get Genetics back, but support for jungle.
And when you do get a pick, it is nice, but having to use that much resource means that you're not going to be able to fight into this red buff as well. You're not going to be able to defend your purple buff nearly as easily. It is a pick. It's a way back in the room, but as of yet, it's not quite enough.
You're right, it doesn't come at zero cost. Maybe they can offset some of that by taking care of Trickstank, who got stuck too far forward. Zero positional commitment. There's plenty of members from Cold Llamas on this side of the map too. But this is good for Arkle. He can kind of force Streak Up to keep coming back to lane and then play up around his escape route. So if he tries to rotate into gold, he can end up getting caught out for it. And Johnny's over on this side too. Streak Up has to make sure he's playing this extra careful. If he gives up a pick, then the Fury might be free. Johnny blinks in, forces out the Aegis right away, and Desert Fury was there. Well executed from Belt Slap, but now they're heavily favored going into this Fury. Slap got that one quite nicely, and they will now extend the lead. So that was kind of that scare point I was saying for Cold Llamas, where the lead had plateaued, but that's because they've done the big neutral objective for the time. As soon as that came back up, though, they weren't able to defend, and they lose a player. This could be the answer back, though, starting up this Pyro, but Julio is on his way. Trickstank is here, too. Cold Llamas do secure the Pyromancer, but now they've got to run for the hill. Arkle doesn't even let Ice make it up to the Pal. Maniac in some trouble now as well. He has a ton of physical protections, but Julio's on top of him, trying to slow him down. Maniac gets locked into the blue buff alcove, and Arkle gets a double
Nice,
kill.
Vegas.
Emilio pulled back in as well, but Zeros is using the flicker to try and cover the distance. Arkle still has the leap, and he's not going to let Emilio escape. That's 3 for him throughout that engagement as Arkle continues his reign of terror.
Potential Fire Giant now. I mean, Genetics is around, but Fafnir, especially at level 11, no second active available. It's going to be so hard for him to steal it. They don't know that he's there. He's completely hidden. How is he going to play this?
Can have a hammer over the wall, perhaps, but it doesn't get there in time. Belt Slap confirm it correctly. Genetics still has Draconic Corruption and can still try and get back out of here if he needs to, but his life might be forfeit after trying to go for that steal. He does use the Draconic Corruption immediately, though, gets charged prayed, and no way for him to make it back out of there. So this has just been a really...
Absolutely. As I said, towers burning through now. It looks like they're completely grouped up around their own Phoenixes, knowing that defending a tier 2 tower is nearly a death sentence, but Maniac, a little bit too aggressive, getting caught out.
Yeah, and Trickstank's not going to miss on those charge prays. He's lurking in the waters, waiting for Maniac. That is a good stun from Genetics, but it's not going to be enough. Maniac gets gobbled up for the 4th time this game. The side lanes really got punished in this one. A collective 0-7 for Cold Llamas. It's not been their day, and now it's just a march down Main Street here from Belt Slap as they start this middle Phoenix. There's still 4 members around to defend as Genetics leaps in, forced into the Draconic Corruption with that leap on cooldown, and the charge pray, of course, is awaiting for him. Gets pulled right back into Zeros' damage, but it's not enough. So Julio goes atop the horse. Trickstank does end up falling for it, but now Emilito isolated as Arkle completes 9 in a row. That makes him divine if you're keeping track at home. They get the minions into range, and they'll now threaten the mid Phoenix as well, and Cold Llamas cannot hope to defend.
I'm not sure that Trix has missed a single charge, making an all or nothing play. 4 people grouped up now. Julio making the engagement.
And they force the Draconic Corruption out from Genetics early on. Julio finds a stun too, but he is starting to get a bit shredded. Even gets hit by a chain, and without the ultimate, he will get pulled back in, but Julio, even still, is alive. He gets another heal back off, and Trickstank gets the kill in the streak up. Arkle gets Ice. It's an overcommitment now from Cold Llamas, and they're starting to pay. Johnny takes care of Emilito as well, and now the rest of the squad has to run for the hill. Mifflin, I think I initially liked this call to come get the tier 2 tower. They were trying to force a trade at what they thought would be a Fire Giant from Belt Slap, but Belt Slap backed in time to defend, and then Cold Llamas, I think they stuck around too long. What did you see?
I saw the exact same thing you did. They were probably assuming that Fire Giant was going to get pulled so they could trade out the Phoenix at least, but instead Julio got there a little bit early, but that's all Cold Llamas saw was Julio, so when he engaged 4 versus 1, you feel like you're favored.
But instead, it was a bit of a bait, not unlike what happened here to Maniac, as Arkle now immortal, 11-0-3, undying, as he was the one that I think really put the stamp on this game, him and Trickstank. Genetics is the only one still standing. He cannot defend all by himself. 22 minutes, 53 seconds is all it.
Trying to escape. No one's going to hit you up there, bud. Just crawl on out, jump down forever away. It's so strong. Ratatasker pilled up from Belt Slap. Similarly, he's going to have that global presence and the ability to leave the playfield again. But he's going to bring presence to the entirety of the map, as well as a huge engagement factor.
But I like this, though. I think Cold Llamas have given themselves a position, Mifflin, where they can contest throughout the game much more early. And they still have a bit of a late-game insurance policy with Streak Up. Arkle in trouble, has to use the Purification Beads. It's 5 members of Cold Llamas bear down on him. There's Ice on the Iraq, and he's setting up for First Blood for Maniac. And they're not going to get bullied in the early game this time. They fight aggressive. Trickstank, though, blinking in. Even with this many members here, not going to be able to find a whole lot. And instead, Arkle just has to fall back as Cold Llamas want to try and make a blue buff invade happen. Julio, Johnny, and Trickstank all in the way. Trickstank gets the blink off before he gets put in combat, but still in trouble. But what peel, though, coming up from the rest of Belt Slap to get Trickstank out of there. He's still alive. Julio waiting patiently for his transformation to come out, and that's why Johnny is re-engaging, and it works out perfectly. Ice Baby ends up falling, and now Genetics in trouble too. Maybe, though, Maniac can find some way to turn this around. He can't. It ends up being a 2-for-1 for Belt Slap.
Julio transforming there was the turning point of that fight, immediately turning what was a terrible fight into a 2-for-0 trade. You lose the blue buff, but you're
Slap. So that play doesn't really pan out for them. In fact, they're entirely on the run. And I don't know if Cold Llamas are going to let them do that for free. The blink starting to come out as Genetics looks for the lockdown, but Zeros has that grasp of death available. It does not stop Ice Baby, though, from cleaning up the kill. A big knock-up from Johnny, but there's tons of CC and cleanses there. So Arkle has to pick up the mantle and put Ice Baby down, but Maniac finds the double, getting aggressive underneath the tier 2 tower, and Cold Llamas find 3-for-1.
I mean, Maniac
pressure there in mid and has to use the ultimate in order to escape, but is still considering playing aggressive as well. Gets a bit of healing from that hell and is ready to keep battling. Arco though in some trouble. Emilito goes to the Desert Fury, leaps away, and now he doesn't have any help to get away from Johnny. Johnny can't find the stun, but cleans up the kill as Emilito, looking for fights, gets baited into trouble.
I mean, that's hard to play, but her healing and her damage in conjunction are going to be so potent, as well as her ability to escape these fights. This Breastplate of Valor is coming online. Additional defense might come online in the form of a helmet, or even some magical defense as well. It's going to be very hard for BRZA to find their targets.
Johnny looks for Emilito again, but Emilito answers with the Desert Fury. That's enough to get him out of there. And Ice Ice Baby should be able to clean this kill up. Good blink from Johnny, and Trickstank will be here to help. Arco goes in and cleans up the kill into Emil. His life gets traded out, but that does buy space for Johnny to escape. I say that, but Genetics nearby, but can't hit any piece of it. Johnny has the juke boots and makes it out. So now Maniac has to use the Jormungandr ult to hunt him down, and Johnny's juking that too. How does this little tiny rat survive at all? He manages to make it out of there. Cold Llama's now grouped up and left with a chance to threaten the tier 2 tower, and poor Trickstank, he can't stop 4 members all by himself. All he can hope to do is perhaps delay it. Zero's on his way. Johnny as well. There is the grasp of death that hits on the wall, and everyone should be connected. So Genetics provides the shielding for them, but back all used, and now Cold Llama's gonna try and force this fight. They've got the health sustain, so they're certainly favored, and Johnny being hunted down by the Arachne. Emilito gets the kill credit. Trickstank low too, make it a double for Emilito on the on-her. Genetics does end up falling. It's Julio that cleans him up, and Julio wants to step on the gas pedal, see if they can find a couple of return kills, but Emilito continues to fire. Arco finally shuts him down though, and now Maniac is stuck without an escape button. Julio gets another kill. How do they turn this fight around? Aegis allows Zeros to buy some time too, and they shut down Ice Ice Baby. Mifflin, this fight starts so well for Cold Llamas. Where does it go wrong?
Honestly, Johnny does a fantastic job of evading and just enough damage to force Cold Llamas to overcommit to find his kill. They stack up just enough for them to find the damage they need onto all targets. Streak Up can't heal everyone up just quite well enough as he gets caught out around the red buff, escaping using that speed, but Julio picks him up.
Yeah, I almost want to call it a cooldown available for when they need it in the fight. Johnny gets some good poke onto Ice Ice to zone him out, but everyone else is grouped up around Streak Up as Julio moves in. Now that range transformation will happen right when they need it, and they want to blow Streak Up right away at the back of the fight. That's easy. Arco shuts down Genetics as well. Emilito has to keep running for the hills, but Julio right there behind him to keep up the chase, blinks in as well.
Nice
and
root.
now he's moving here too. The stun is there, the root as well, and Ice Ice gets the shutdown onto Julio. Maybe Maniac and Ice Ice can turn this around, but Johnny comes in like an assassin and shuts down Emilito. The rest of Belt Slap now need to find a way to regroup. I don't know if he can win this 1v1. Ice Ice gets the kill. It looks like elsewhere they lost Maniac, their last remaining member, so it's only Ice Ice on the Arachne still standing, but Belt Slap again off with her protective entourage, and the fight has to stall.
The fight will stall indeed, but it won't stall for long. Trickstank blinking in now, looking for the engagement.
And Julio goes right to the back line, but Ice Ice gets Johnny. Arco, though, does make him pay for it. Genetics uses the ult in place yet again to try and find the knock-up in the shell, but this is critical that Streak Up has survived this time, so they will have that health sustain. Belt Slap likely have to give up on this entirely, or else Cold Llamas just run them over, and Trickstank starting to catch the brunt of it as he ends up low. But Arco taking the fight up against Maniac. I don't know if this 1v1 against a Hunter is really what the Jormungandr was looking for, and Zeros manages to punish him for it. Instead of grouping up, Maniac goes off on his own and gets picked, but maybe they get the kill on Zeros. How is Grasp of Death back up again? Zeros has it and is using it to get back out of there. Arco comes in on the backside and shuts down Emilito. They get the kill on Genetics as well. Zeros may end up falling, but that only leaves Streak Up, and it doesn't matter how much sustain he has when he's fighting all alone. Arco gets the triple kill, and some misplays from Cold Llamas hurt them there. And Zeros comes in to cleanly finish off that kill, and then, as you alluded to, buy a ton of time. Both of these solo laners at times have made a couple of plays, and this might be one of them as Julio nearly gets caught, that have cost their team some pressure. Ice Ice does get the kill, but he has to dive the tier 1 tower, and Johnny trades him back out. At least a somewhat other viable source of magic damage, though it's not a ton, as Belt Slap are going to get aggressive, and Johnny is winning the 1v1 in mid up against Ice Ice. That should never be happening. He shuts down the Arachne, and that's a huge play for Belt Slap. Now they don't have to worry about this Arachne potentially blowing up their targets on the dive, and Johnny still has the ultimate too to threaten them on their dive. He absolutely goes into it. Trickstank goes right to the back line, drops the Curse Dog. It's all about Streak Up and taking this hell out of the fight quickly. Genetics provides the shielding, but it's no nowhere near enough. Johnny brings Streak up to a quick and swift in. Julio takes care of Emilito as well. And now there's trouble in the backline for Genetics. How does this play end up happening where Johnny shuts down Eyesight? It opens up the whole thing, Mifflin. This left side Phoenix comes down, and that's the game as well.
All I saw was Heartseeker burst off the back of an Acorn stun, completely shutting down Arachne before she could even land the healing auto attack. That's so unfortunate. I understand why you go for that 1v1, but it just doesn't work this time. Johnny dying to the fountain, letting people know that, yeah, I won this game for us.
I think that he did, man. That play in mid is so instrumental, especially that he was able to do it with